Tokyo glittered beneath the colorful neon lights as my plane landed at Narita Airport. I never imagined that this innocent tourist trip would turn into a nightmare that would change the course of my life forever. I had saved for years for this moment, dreaming of Kyoto's ancient temples, blooming sakura flowers, and the enchanting Japanese culture I had always read about in books. My name is Marwan, a young lawyer from Morocco. I graduated with honors from law school and worked at a modest law firm in Casablanca. I specialized in international criminal law and had spent years studying Japanese legislation as part of my academic research. I didn't know that this knowledge would one day become my only weapon for survival. I arrived at my small hotel in the Shinjuku district late at night. Fatigue weighed on my eyelids, but excitement coursed through my veins. I opened my room's window and gazed at the city stretching before me like an ocean of lights. Tokyo was alive, pulsing, different from everything I knew. The streets were full of activity despite the late hour, and music sounds drifted from nearby restaurants and bars. The next morning I began my sightseeing tour. I visited Sensoji Temple in Asakusa, strolled through Shinjuku-gyoen Gardens, and took hundreds of photos. Everything was perfect, everything was exactly as I had dreamed, but fate was preparing a surprise I never expected. Chapter 2. The Ill-Fated Encounter. On the evening of my third day in the city, I decided to visit the Roppongi district, famous for its nightlife. I was walking through the crowded streets, amazed by the diversity of faces and cultures mixing in this cosmopolitan neighborhood. I stopped at a small restaurant to have a bowl of ramen, and its taste was unforgettable. After dinner, as I was walking back toward the subway station, I heard a soft feminine voice behind me. Sumimasen. Sumimasen, excuse me. I turned to find myself facing a beautiful Japanese girl. She wore an elegant black dress, and her long black hair cascaded over her shoulders like a silk waterfall. Her wide eyes looked at me with a mixture of shyness and curiosity. "Do you speak English?" she asked in a charming Japanese accent. "Yes, of course. How can I help you?" I answered enthusiastically, happy for the chance to speak with locals. She smiled shyly. "My name is Yuki. I'm studying English at university, and I'm always looking for opportunities to practice. Are you a tourist?" This was the beginning of a conversation that lasted for hours. Yuki told me about her studies at Tokyo University, her dream of traveling around the world, her passion for art and music. She was enchanting in every sense of the word, and I was the naive young man unaccustomed to such attention from a girl of this beauty, falling into her trap without knowing it. Yuki suggested we go to a small bar she knew, a real place away from tourist spots. I agreed without hesitation. She led me through a maze of narrow alleys until we reached a small bar on the second floor of an old building. The place was bathed in dim lighting, and quiet music filled the atmosphere. We ordered some drinks and sat in a quiet corner. The conversation continued, and I felt as if I had known this girl for years. She laughed at my jokes and looked into my eyes in a way that made me forget everything around me. I didn't notice time passing, nor the amount of drinks I consumed. Chapter 3. The Bitter Awakening. I woke up the next morning with a splitting headache. I was in my hotel room, but I didn't remember how I got there. I tried to recall the details of last night, but everything was foggy after 11 o'clock. The last thing I remembered was Yuki smiling at me and saying something about helping me return to the hotel. I rose from bed with difficulty and headed to the bathroom to wash my face. When I returned to the room, I noticed my bag was open. A chill ran through my body. I rushed toward the bag and searched it nervously. My wallet was gone. My passport was there, but all my cash, my credit cards, everything of value disappeared. I had brought $3,000 in cash plus 2 credit cards. Now I had nothing left but a few thousand yen that were in my pants pocket. I felt as if the earth was spinning beneath me. How could I be this stupid, Yuki? Everything had been planned from the beginning. The chance meeting, the charming conversation, the isolated bar, the drinks. All were part of a tight trap. I called the police immediately. 2 officers came to the hotel and took my statement. But it was clear from their looks that they didn't have much hope. Tourist thefts were common, especially in nightlife areas. And without any real information about Yuki, which probably wasn't even her real name, the chances of recovering my money were almost nil. "Did you cancel your credit cards?" one of the officers asked me. I realized I hadn't. I borrowed the hotel phone and called the bank. The news was worse than I expected. The cards had been used in various purchases throughout the night, and the maximum allowed amounts withdrawn from ATMs. The total losses exceeded $5,000. After the officers left, I sat on the edge of the bed staring into space. How could my life turn upside down in one night? I had only about 20,000 yen left, about $150, and this wouldn't be enough even to change my return flight date, let alone pay the remaining hotel bill. I tried to call my family in Morocco, but it was too early there. I left a voice message for my brother explaining what happened and asking him to try sending some money via Western Union. But I knew this could take several days. Days I didn't have money to live through. Chapter 4. The Descent. The following days were among the hardest days of my life. I tried to minimize my expenses to the bare minimum. I moved from my comfortable hotel to a cheap hostel in Sanya district, one of Tokyo's poorest neighborhoods. The room was small and damp, and the smell of mold filled the place, but it was all I could afford. I ate one meal a day from konbini, convenience stores, taking advantage of discounted offers in the late hours of the night. I spent my days wandering the streets searching for any temporary work opportunity, but being a tourist without a work permit made it nearly impossible. My attempts to get help from the Moroccan consulate didn't yield quick results. They said they would try to help me, but procedures could take weeks. Weeks I didn't have enough to survive. On the 6th day after the theft, with my money about to run out completely, I began to feel real despair. I was sitting in a public park watching people go about their normal lives while I was stuck in an endless nightmare. How did I get to this state? I, a respectable lawyer, had now become almost homeless in a foreign country. At that moment, a middle-aged Japanese man passed beside me. He stopped and gave me a look, then sat next to me on the bench. "You look in trouble, foreign friend," he said in English. I looked at him cautiously. He wore a cheap gray suit and the smell of cigarettes emanated from him, but his eyes held a kind of genuine sympathy. "You could say things aren't going well," I answered bitterly. He smiled a sad smile. "I can understand. I've been in difficult situations many times myself. My name is Tanaka." I introduced myself to him, and without knowing how, I found myself telling him my whole story. He listened patiently, nodding with understanding. When I finished, he took out a pack of cigarettes and lit one. A familiar story, unfortunately. Tokyo is a beautiful city, but it has a dark side. The girl who tricked you is most likely working for one of the gangs. Gangs? I repeated the word, feeling a chill. Yes, the Yakuza. They have their fingers in everything. Theft, gambling, prostitution, drugs. Everything. He paused and took a deep breath from his cigarette. "Listen, I don't know you, but I'll give you advice. Stay away from trouble. Call your consulate, wait until they send you money to return to your country, and forget what happened. Tokyo is not a place for dangerous adventures." His advice was wise, and I knew it. But desperation drives people to make unwise decisions. Chapter 5. The Gambler's Choice. That night, as I lay on my shabby bed in the hostel, I was thinking about Tanaka's words. The Yakuza. Yuki works for them. This meant my money was now in the pockets of some gang boss. Anger was boiling inside me, mixed with a deep sense of injustice. Then a crazy idea occurred to me. I had read in one of the tourist guides about illegal gambling places in Tokyo. Gambling is prohibited in Japan except for some specific forms like pachinko. But everyone knows there are secret casinos run by the Yakuza. What if I could double what I had left? What if this was my way out of this predicament? It was a foolish idea, I knew that. I had never gambled in my life before, but what did I have to lose? If I failed, I would be completely broke, and that's what I would be in a few days anyway. But if I succeeded, maybe I could compensate for some of what I lost. I spent the next day searching for information. I talked to some locals, and after careful searching, I got the address of a secret gambling place in the Kabukicho area, the famous red light district in Shinjuku. When evening came, I wore the best clothes I had, which weren't many after I sold most of my belongings to get some money. and headed to the address. It was in a narrow alley, an old building that didn't attract attention. There was no sign, just a heavy black door with a small bell. I pressed the bell and waited. After a few moments, a small door in the larger door opened and two eyes appeared staring at me. "What do you need?" a hoarse voice asked in Japanese. "I want to enter to play," I answered in English, hoping he would understand. Silence for a moment, then he closed the small door. I heard the sounds of locks being opened, then the big door opened. A huge man stood before me, his face covered with scars and part of his pinky finger cut off the well-known Yakuza sign. "Foreigners not usually welcome here," he said in broken English, "but your money is your money. Enter." I entered and my heart almost jumped from my chest. The place was a large basement filled with smoke and noise. Poker tables, roulette tables, slot machines. There were dozens of people, mostly Japanese men and some women. Everyone was immersed in playing, their eyes gleaming with a mixture of hope and despair. Chapter 6. The Brawl. I headed to the poker table. I had seen the game in movies, but I had never played it before. But I had to start somewhere. I sat down and bought chips for 20,000 yen, almost all I had left. The first rounds were disastrous. I lost half my chips in less than half an hour. I didn't understand the game's strategy, and the other players, most of them seemingly professional gamblers, read every move I made. But after that, perhaps with beginner's luck, things began to improve. I got a good hand and won a big round, then another. Within an hour, I had doubled my chips. Adrenaline was coursing through my veins, and for the first time in days, I felt some hope. But that hope was short-lived. In one round, I had a strong hand, a full house. I bet almost everything I had. The opposing player, a short Japanese man with a pale face and cold eyes, raised the bet higher. I hesitated but decided to continue. This was my chance to turn my chips into a truly large amount. When we revealed our cards, I discovered he had four of a kind, a stronger hand than mine. I lost almost everything. I felt shock and frustration. How could he have such a strong hand? I looked at him, and for a moment I thought I saw a malicious smile on his face. Then I noticed something, a quick movement in his hand, a strange way of picking up the cards. He was cheating. Sudden anger swept over me. Here I was, broke, desperate, and this man was robbing me again, just as Yuki had done. "You're cheating!" I screamed in English, rising from my seat. The noise in the basement suddenly stopped. Everyone turned to look at us. The man looked at me calmly, then smiled a cold smile. "Prove it," he said in perfect English, which surprised me. "I saw you. I saw how you—" Before I finished my sentence, he stood up and pushed me forcefully. I fell onto the table behind me, chips flying in every direction. Pain exploded in my back, but anger was stronger. I got up and lunged toward him. What happened next was blurry. We exchanged punches, and it quickly turned into a chaotic brawl. I heard screaming around us and saw people rushing to intervene. I felt a strong grip seize my arm and pull me back. "Enough!" a deep voice shouted. It was the huge guard from the door. He grabbed me and the other man, separating us forcefully. He looked at me with anger. "You foolish foreigner, you're causing trouble in the wrong place. Do you know who this place belongs to? The boss of the Asakura clan and the man you attacked." He paused and looked at the other man, who was wiping blood from his mouth. "Is Kenji the boss's right-hand man?" I felt blood freeze in my veins. What had I done? Kenji looked at me with cold eyes full of anger. "I'll make you pay for this, foreigner. No one insults me and gets away with it. Get him out of here now," the guard shouted. They dragged me toward the door and threw me in the outside alley. I fell on the damp ground, my body aching everywhere. I heard the door slam shut behind me forcefully. I sat there for minutes, trying to comprehend what had just happened. Not only had I lost all my remaining money, but now I was in trouble with the Yakuza. Kenji, the right-hand man of a clan boss. I had made the biggest mistake of my life. I should have run, I should have hidden, but where? I had no money, nowhere to go, no one to help me. I rose with difficulty and started walking, unsure of my destination. The streets were dark now and rain began to fall. I walked for an unknown duration, lost in my thoughts, desperate, afraid. Then I saw it. Chapter 7. The Motorcycle. It was parked in front of a small bar at the end of a dark alley, a shiny black motorcycle looking expensive and powerful. Its keys were still in the ignition, as if its owner had left it for just moments to enter the bar. This was the moment when everything changed. Under normal circumstances, I would never think of stealing anything. I'm a lawyer. I spend my life defending the law. But these weren't normal circumstances. I was desperate, hunted, and terrified. I looked around. The street was almost empty. The rain had become heavier and few people were hurrying to find shelter. No one was paying attention to me. Before I thought too much, I approached the motorcycle. My hands were shaking as I grabbed the handlebars. I turned the key and the engine roared suddenly, its sound cutting through the silence of the rainy night. I didn't wait another moment. I jumped on the motorcycle and took off at maximum speed. I had learned to ride motorcycles in Morocco, but this was much more powerful than anything I had driven before. I rushed through the narrow streets, my heart pounding madly, adrenaline flooding my veins. Behind me, I heard screaming. I looked in the mirror and saw a man running out of the bar, waving his arms angrily, but I was already far away. I drove aimlessly for a long time, trying to get as far away from the area as possible. Rain was hitting my face and cold was piercing my bones, but I didn't stop. This motorcycle was now all I had, the only lifeline in an ocean of troubles. After about an hour of random driving, I stopped under a bridge in a remote area. I turned off the engine and got off, my whole body trembling from cold, fear, and exhaustion. I sat on the ground and leaned my back against one of the bridge pillars. What had I done? In a matter of a few hours, I had transformed from a broke tourist into a hunted criminal. I had brawled with the right-hand man of a Yakuza boss, then stolen a motorcycle which most likely also belonged to a gang member based on the bar's location and the motorcycle's luxury. I looked at the motorcycle in the dim light coming from distant street lamps. It was a Kawasaki Ninja H2, one of the most powerful and expensive motorcycles in the world. Then I noticed something that made my heart stop for a moment. On the side of the motorcycle there was a small engraved emblem, the Asakura family emblem. The same family Kenji worked for. The same family that owned the gambling den. I hadn't stolen just any motorcycle. I had stolen a motorcycle belonging to the Yakuza boss himself. I felt nausea sweep over me. This was no longer just a small problem that could be solved. I had gotten myself into something much bigger than I could handle. I spent the rest of the night under that bridge, unable to sleep, my thoughts spinning in an endless spiral. I knew they would search for me. The Yakuza had eyes everywhere in Tokyo. Sooner or later, they would find me. Chapter 8. The Chase. With dawn breaking, I decided to move. Staying in one place was suicide, but where should I go? I couldn't return to the hostel I was staying at. That would be the first place they'd search. I couldn't go to the police. I was now a criminal too. I decided to hide in crowded places. In a city the size of Tokyo, one can disappear among millions. I rode the motorcycle to the Shibuya area and parked it in a public motorcycle lot. I didn't want to keep it with me all the time. It was a clear mark indicating my identity. I spent the day moving between cafes and parks, trying to look like an ordinary tourist. But every time I saw a Japanese man wearing a suit, my heart jumped. I saw Yakuza everywhere, even if they weren't actually there. In the afternoon, while sitting in a cafe, I saw the television showing local news. Suddenly, my picture appeared on the screen. It was an image from a surveillance camera, unclear but recognizable as me. The announcer spoke in Japanese, but I understood enough words and images. Theft, motorcycle, foreign suspect. Now I was officially wanted by the police too. I left the cafe quickly and returned to where I parked the motorcycle. I needed to move again, but I didn't know where. All my options were bad. As I approached the motorcycle parking, I noticed something strange. Two men were standing near the motorcycle, looking at it with interest. They wore black suits, and their appearance screamed Yakuza. I stopped in my place, hiding behind a pillar. They had found the motorcycle. Perhaps they had a GPS tracking device installed in it, or maybe they were searching every motorcycle parking lot in the city. I waited. After about 10 minutes, I saw them walk away, but I was sure they left someone watching the place from somewhere nearby. The motorcycle had now become a trap. I should have left it and fled on foot. But without the motorcycle, I was nothing again. And there was something inside me. Perhaps it was anger at everything that had happened to me. Or perhaps it was just despair that made me make another crazy decision. I waited until darkness fell. Then, using winding routes, I approached the parking from a different direction. There was indeed a man watching, standing at a distance from which he could see the motorcycle. He was smoking a cigarette, looking bored. I crept carefully, using parked cars as cover. I reached the motorcycle, turned the key as fast as possible, then took off. I heard screaming behind me. I looked in the mirror and saw the man running toward a nearby parked car, his phone in his hand. He was calling others, no doubt. I drove madly through Tokyo's streets, avoiding cars and pedestrians, trying to put the greatest possible distance between me and my pursuers. But I knew this wouldn't be enough. They would find me again. After an hour of random driving, I found myself in a deserted industrial area on the outskirts of the city. I stopped the motorcycle in an abandoned warehouse and tried to think clearly. It was obvious I couldn't keep running. Sooner or later, they would catch me. I needed a real plan, something that could save me from this nightmare. And suddenly an idea occurred to me. I was a lawyer specializing in international criminal law. I had spent years studying Japanese laws, including laws related to organized crime. Perhaps there was a way to use this knowledge to my advantage. If Yuki worked for the Asakura family, as Tanaka told me, and if the motorcycle belonged to the family boss himself, this meant I was deeply involved in their operations. But this also meant I might be able to learn things about them, secrets that could be useful. It was a crazy idea, but I had a plan. Instead of continuing to run, I needed confrontation. I needed to learn more about the Asakura family, about its boss, about their operations. I needed to find something, anything I could use as a bargaining chip. But how? How could a broken-hunted foreigner infiltrate the Yakuza world and uncover their secrets? The answer was simple and terrifying at the same time. I had to make them come to me.